Hey guys! Today we finally finished looking at the Tier 2 SPGs in World of Tanks with the little French Renault FT BS. And luckily, apart from its name, there is absolutely no BS going on here, as this is a really good machine, with in fact the highest potential DPM output of the entire tier. By the way, I don't know if you noticed, but since the last patch we have more information available in-game as well when browsing the tech trees, so we can finally compare important statistics like firing range, gun arc and gun elevation as well. So together with the burst radius I have included these aspects as well in the review. And if you are wondering where you can find these stats, just hover your mouse over the vehicles in the tech trees without actually selecting them. But before we start the number crunching, you can of course once again skip ahead to the gameplay if you wish. The timestamp in the description below will bring you to a nice 7 kill ace tanker run that hopefully should show you the DPM potential of this little machine quite nicely. With that settled, let's answer the question what the Renault FT BS is actually like. Well, do you remember the rapid-firing Su-18 a few videos earlier? It's surprisingly similar to that concept, only it's better in almost every single way. Now, this doesn't mean that it would not have any drawbacks, but those are much less serious than those on its Russian counterpart. With all this praise in advance, I think it's finally time to have a good look at all the aspects that make the gun of this little SPG so good. Starting with the good news, it has a really solid 165 alpha damage, and that's combined with the fastest rate of fire in its tier at 7.69 rounds per minute. Thus, it has a 7.8 second base reload time. But that's not all. It also has the fastest aiming time together with the Su-18 at only 4.5 seconds, and one of the best accuracies with 0.77 meters. So it does not only have the best DPM out of all the other Tier 2 SPGs, it's capable to bring those numbers quite consistently as well. And the good news are still not over. The gun has a solid 20 degrees arc, which, although is not as good as with the British or the American artillery pieces, it will still feel quite comfortable. The gun elevation is quite good as well at 45 degrees, and the gun traverse is one of the best once again with 18 degrees per second, meaning that you can swing that gun around without any extensive delay. By the way, a little disclaimer about the gun elevation. Unfortunately, we still do not have any real in-game data about the actual shell trajectory as far as I know. The gun elevation is only partial information, as we would need the shell velocity as well to be able to calculate the actual trajectory. So while a below 55 degree maximal gun elevation is a good sign that you won't be able to hit stuff behind cover, these numbers don't tell the whole story. Okay, so after all this good news, surely all the other aspects must be bad. Well, partially yes, but the situation is far from dramatic. Still talking about the gun, you have for example the lowest penetration with an average of only 38 mm, but you do have to realize that that's almost the same as what all the other SPGs have at this tier. And at this tier, this kind of penetration is well enough. And with your crazy DPM, you can just keep on pounding at them anyway, should the shells not go through the first time. The other slight drawback of the gun is that you have the smallest firing range at 485 meters. But that's once again not far off from what your competitors have, so it won't limit you much. And lastly, burst radius is almost non-existent, with it being barely above 1 meter only. But apart from the German Uber cannon, that's actually exactly the same for everyone else as well. Protection-wise, we also can't really talk about anything serious, especially as the whole tier is rather squishy with the exception of that troll of a T-57. You have a very average 80 HP and 16 mm of armor all around, so if you are looking for a mobile fortress kind of feel, look somewhere else. Mobility, on the other hand, is undeniably the weak spot for this machine, as it has a ludicrous 19 km/h top speed, if you can call it speed in the first place that is, and that's combined with a really bad 14 degree per second hull traverse. Let's just say that catching up with the fight will sometimes be a problem, as you will have to relocate due to the more limited firing range, and by the time you crawl to your new position, it might just be too late. You also can't expect to turn on your attackers should they get past you, so try to blow them up while they are still in front of you. And last but not least, the two stats that nobody cares about, at least with SPGs that is. View range is rather bad at 260 meters only, but the signal range is alright at 360 meters. There are no surprising suggestions regarding equipment and crew skills either, so I think we are ready for the verdict. Is it any good? Well, if it was not clear from the constant praise until now, I don't know what else I can say. Although it's not my favorite at this tier, I really like the Renault and I think it's overall a great little machine. On a different note, here is a quick question for you. Would you like to have a very quick historical summary in the World of Tanks reviews as well, similar to what I do with my World of Warships content? If you do, let me know in the comments below. Right now, however, I think it's high time to roll out with the Renault FT BS and blow up as many tanks as we can. Alright, so here we are in our Renault FT BS on the Mines map. It's a tier 2 match and, well, it's a match between titans. Both teams are, well, more or less equally bad, though the enemy team has a couple of better players, especially that Cruiser 3 looks dangerous. But then again, it's Mines, so we don't expect any crazy tactics. It will play out pretty much as expected. A lot of rumble going on for the hill in the middle, and probably a couple of guys trying to get around the little island on the left and towards the little town on the right. Now we will have to support these guys as much as possible, cause I think we got the shittier end of the stick with this team lineup. But hey, that's what the Renault FT BS is for after all. So after climbing to this elevation and parking behind that bush, we will focus our undivided attention to the middle first, because that's the first point we need to secure on the map. And that was unfortunately too late, but at least we now have more of a better idea about the time our shell will need to travel. And we start off with a really lucky kill, because we were actually aiming on that Cruiser 3. But the shell did miss, and luckily hit the tank next to it. Yeah, okay, T-60 seems pretty occupied with the enemy. And that's a good hit. Now look at the rate of fire on this thing. It's absolutely amazing, and that's an unfortunate miss. But that's alright, we can fire again in a couple of seconds. And there we go, that's what we like to see. Look at this rapid fire, it's quite amazing. Oops, and that was actually a bounce. Especially T-18s from the front will give you problems. You should always be aiming for the softer top parts and the engine deck. But you see, that rate of fire combined with that excellent aiming time of 4.5 seconds makes this a very, very effective weapon. Fire as he pops out of visibility range, and we got the kill. So already on 3 kills, team is not doing really well. 6-6, but I'm not overly confident. And that's a miss, so he did eventually move up. And now we are already losing 6-8. It's not looking good. And this is actually quite a nice little dance here. And first good hit on the T-18. So what's actually now happening, these guys are lighting each other up for artillery. And from both sides, they get hammered by artillery. So, come on. And yeah, that's the famous artillery accuracy for you. And luckily, we have the DPM to be able to get past the inaccuracy of the gun. This was aimed. This was well aimed, so that it did actually go where I aimed it, but I predicted the movement of that T-18 wrong. That's okay. We have now more urgent matters to attend anyway, like taking these guys out. And we got that Cruiser 1 as well. So we did quite a lot of work. We are already on 5 kills, approaching 500 damage. However, we are still down by 1. We are losing 9-10. And that Cruiser 1 is just being taken out. So we are losing now 11-9. And we are down to 2 artillery, including myself, an M2, which I don't even know where he is, to be honest, and a T-60, which has been camping the base the entire time. So I'm trying to use the T-60 and the artillery to spot for me, and there we go. Enemy T-18, luckily not sporting the howitzer gun, and we managed to take him out. And oh, there is the Cruiser 3, that's actually the best player on the enemy team. We get a shot, and we take out the Cruiser, which is a very, very important kill. But we have been spotted. Someone was firing us, and there goes artillery behind us, so we need to relocate and pop off their radar. Now that shot probably did come from the little island. So this rock should provide enough cover for me, as I'm trying to pop off their radar. And here I make a decision that is a bit dangerous. I'm moving up so I can support the T-60, who is now moving up on the little island. But that leaves me quite vulnerable out in the open, and with my turning speed and top speed, I'm a sitting duck if I encounter someone. Enemy artillery is just making a joke that I shouldn't be pushing for the waters here, which is quite funny. So our M2 is down, so now it's the two of us, and oh shit, it's a T-57, and that's bad news. T-57s eat Renaults for breakfast. He's hiding behind cover. So we have to reverse back. And yeah, I got myself in a pretty stupid situation here. Should have been in a safer position and spotting anything that tries to come up. Capas, and here I turn to help with this Panzerjäger 1, but enemy T-57 makes a move, and yeah, that's what T-57s do. God, I love that machine, you can be such a bully in them. Unfortunately, I was now on the receiving end, so that's less than ideal. Luckily T-60 nails the Panzerjäger 1, so now he's up against 2 artillery, one of which is quite close to the cab, and I have no idea where the enemy Lloyd gun carriage could be. So, all our hopes after 7 kills, it's down to 1 T-60 driver to take the kill. And this is quite nerve-wracking. I really don't want to lose this match after putting down so much damage on the table. But suddenly, someone's capturing the base. That must be the T-57. So T-60, please go back. Thank you very much. And now there is 2 of them capping, so that means both of the missing artillery is now in the cap circle. So that's actually in our advantage. We now know very well where they both are. Oh, one of them just left. Probably to move into position to cover the first one, so we know both of them are somewhere there. I give here advice for the T-60 to approach and shoot the enemy T-57 from the sides and rear, because from the front it's actually quite heavily armored. And let's see what's going to happen. So he approaches from the waterfront. Come on, be careful. Uh-oh, so T-57 is looking this way. There is the enemy artillery as well. But he goes for the front anyways. But if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid, as we know from jingles, and it's very true from this case as well. But oh, come on, don't go up there. He will be aiming on this side. Oh Jesus, I have been so nervous. And he gets hit, and it's only 39 damage. Hit the tracks probably. Don't stop sideways in front of an artillery. Oh my god. This is so bad. And he bounces. And luckily the Lloyd misses again. And this is stupid. He starts to play with the artillery. Because, yeah, that's what they do. I mean, come on, finish it off. Don't fucking mess it up for me, please. And he tracks him. And he's still playing with it like a cat plays with its food. Ah, Jesus Christ. I was holding my head like, what the hell are you doing? And the chat is hilarious as well. Between the hunter and the prey. And finally, a last insult from the Lloyd gun carriage does the job. Oh, low tier games, you are priceless. So that was a little fun run in our Renault FT BS on mines. Ace tanker with a top gun is always delicious in an SPG. During our little rampage, we did cause over 700 damage and claim 7 kills, and for this we have netted 14,500 credits and almost 600 base XP. As there were only very few players on either teams that actually had a good game, it's no wonder that we came first by damage dealt, kills secured and XP earned as well, though I have to commend our T60 driver who eventually secured the game, and the enemy Cruiser 3 driver had a good game as well. While our aiming was not spotless, I think the stats tell a lot about this little arty. We were able to fire 20 shots in total, that is a lot, and from those 20 shots 12 actually hit the target as well, with one causing splash damage. From the 12 hits only one did not penetrate, so you see that your lower than average penetration barely causes any trouble at all. So that was my little review on the Renault FT BS. I hope you did like it. If you did, thank you for considering giving it a like or sharing it. Next week we might have a little break, as most probably I will have to fly to the UK for the whole week for training, but I'm working on some interesting video concepts already. First of all, I want to do a tier 2 arty summary, crowning the best SPG of this tier, and this could eventually become a regular video after we complete each of the tiers. Also, I'm working on a little guide about using the terrain effectively, from bushwork to ridge work and going hull down, to eventually side scraping and working the corners correctly. So hopefully this will come handy for a lot of people. We will of course also continue with the usual reviews from both World of Warships and World of Tanks, so there is a lot of good stuff heading your way. Take care guys, enjoy your games and your weekends, and I see you very soon.